live stream.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we'll bring this meeting back to order. We had a glitch with the power and we're back online and ready to go, so I apologize for that. Continuation.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I'll continue on. Okay, we're on the same page here. Just a bunch of stats. We always provide stats. I'm not going to go line for line. It's there for reference. But a note is you'll see traffic still leading the way. We usually report that's about 40–45% of the calls for service, but this last quarter it looked like it might have been more about the 30–35% range. So it's down, which means all the other stuff is up. So we'll, again, fancy pie chart on the next slide. You'll see the breakdown just for a nice little color coding.
So I'll just allow me to interject really quickly about the trend there. I hardly call it a trend, but the fact that traffic is down to about 35% from where we normally sit between 45 and 50% speaks to the fact that our members are busier doing other things. Like a lot of the occurrences that are traffic related are our members self-generating things. So if they are doing other things, they're not doing traffic. Sorry, Scott, I'll let you continue.
No, it's okay. And we'll just continue to go through fairly quick. You'll see June, July busier than June, and we'll continue to August here, and August about similar to, and just a little busier than July. And the pie chart for that. So one more, we'll just continue. Oh, that's the end of that, but I just want to sum that all up. He beat me to the pie, not to use the chart, but the members are out there. We're getting busier. Traffic is still dominant, and makes sense because I'm sure a lot of calls to the council and the members of the board is traffic related, but they are tackling some of the more serious crime. We've seen a little bit of that trend now. We're seeing that trend through information through Crime Stoppers tips. We're even seeing it where we're trying this hybrid school community two-person model. As they work within the schools are providing information. So I can't stress enough that if there's information coming in through the community, through the council, direct them through the calls center or the dispatch centers so we can have the reference points of a call for service, because we're very stats driven. We were trying to use the terminology data driven. We get the data from the stats and the information that allows me as operations NCO to try to plan resourcing and what we're going to do. We are dictating with resourcing levels a lot of times, but that's no different than any other district in the province right now. But as you can see, if you have any questions about the stats or other than that, feel free to ask. It's so time driven to break down each one of those slides, but I'll just leave that as a reference.
All right, thank you for the report. Now open the floor for questions and stuff. And first up is Warden Rolston.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the report. Lots of information packed in there for sure. I do have a question. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll direct it through to the CAO first and then it can go back to you folks, whatever. I know after our last meeting, there were a number of requests put forward for reports or information, which I don't see them answered in this report. So I just see to the CAO if she's had any report, and just it's like we had asked for the shift and the number of our 28 officers who are on shift because of the confusion over the 6, the 4.6 average and the 4, all that were referenced. So we had asked for actual shifts between June 1st and August 31st. We had asked for days on which the Rawdon office is open for the quarter, and the KPI for calls for service overall. So anyway, I don't know if the CAO has any follow-up information on that or not.
Where are you here?
She's on.
What? She's on?
She's requested.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I don't have an update.
I think the first two are fairly self-explanatory. The third one around the KPIs was related back to Councillor Tingley's question last police advisory around, I think the staff sergeant had mentioned that there were KPIs for calls of service that were available at a national level, and he had asked if those could be made available to the committee, so that was the follow-up on that. The other two, unless I've missed them, we don't have that information in the report.
No, so I'll answer we'll go with the low-hanging fruit first, like the easier answers. The Rawdon office was open all but half days for 2 weeks when the air conditioning was down during the heat wave. And then 2 days for sick leave, and I was unable to staff the office in that quarter. With regards to the 4.6, there's a lot more that goes into that, and unfortunately I didn't have the time to answer at the time how 4.6 was the number that we came up to, but I'll go through the notes that I have here. Our member salary is based on 2,080 hours per year. The actual 24-hour shift schedule's 2,190, which leaves 110 hours in which I owe my members time off. So take that off the top of your 6. They also get annual leave. On average, if you're an old fellow like Scott and I, it's well in excess of 200 hours a year. But on average in our office, it's between 160 and 200 hours a year. Training time between non-mandatory and mandatory training is about 80 to 100 hours per year. And one of the unfortunate things that comes with shift work is the increased number of sick time that comes up. Part of it is just statistically speaking, somebody's not sick for 8 hours anymore, they're sick for 12 hours. So there is an increase right there of 4 hours, so 50%. But the working night shifts is a little harder on the human body. We see that rise to an average of about 96 hours per year. That's not including our long-term sick time, by the way. So we're talking about 96 hours per year. So of that 2190 hours that our schedule has, which is what gives us 6 members per shift, 500 hours per member is lost from all those things. I don't call training lost because they're actually working and they're gaining from that, and vacation time is to recharge the battery. So unfortunately, the 110 hours off is something that I have to give them. I can't make them work those extra 110 hours when they're not compensated for those 110 hours. So the mitigation for this, so this speaks to the, I don't have the numbers for times below 4 because we don't generally let it happen. We don't let our shifts fall below 4. The mitigation is our reservists and overtime. Overtime, which does not get billed back to the municipality, it's built into the PPSA, where our shifting minimum is 4. So the amount of times that we fall below 4, the mitigation for that is to call out people to work those shifts on overtime. In the event that we are unable to pull out a last minute overtime, it happens. Due to somebody being sick or an unforeseen incident with somebody's family or whatever the case might be where somebody had to leave shift. We have a risk manager within the city or within Dartmouth that deals with the entire province. They will shift resources from other areas to bolster up our resources to make sure that policing can be done and our responsiveness can be maintained. Part of that PPSA is a surge capacity as well. So we talk about your Tide Fests, your Mount Uniacke incidents where we ended up with a lot of police officers. Within the RCMP, we have a mechanism to increase the number of resources in any given area. Our traffic services are part of the surge capacity as well. So within minutes, we can have more resources on the ground. it goes both ways, though, that surge capacity. So I'll give an example of protests in Cape Breton, Escazone area. It required a surge capacity. Those bodies have to come from somewhere. Same as we require a surge capacity in East Hants once in a while for the incidents in Mount Uniacke last year. Planned ones such as the Tide Fest. We bring in resources from outside. It might sound like I'm kind of dancing around the issue, but to give you a number of times that we fall below 4, we generally don't let it happen. So,
That's not my question.
You still have the floor. So, yeah, put yourself on.
Well, thank you, that's lots of information, but that's really not what the question was. It was the org chart told us there should be 6. What I'm hearing now is that's probably not gonna happen very often, that
There-
there would be 6.
there's 6, but they have time off. They've got
Okay.
scheduled vacation.
But when you talk to laypersons such as us and you say there are gonna be 6 on shift, we just assume it's 6 on shift. Anyway, what was asked was for a report of your actual shifts and the number of officers on each shift between June 1st and August 31st. Understanding, sometimes it might be 6, it might be 4, it might be 5. I think we just wanted to get an idea of where this 4.6 average was coming from and what shifts were usually, like, we just wanted that information and, I'd still like to have it. And I know there was HVAC issues at the Rawdon office, and I just have one question around that. When there is sick leave, like, is it not doable? I know there are more positions at the Enfield office. It's not doable to move somebody there so that at least there's someone in each office?
There was actually more sick leave than 2 days. So it was just those 2 days I couldn't staff that
Okay.
office.
All right.
And you're right, there is normally a movement of resources.
Okay. So back to this whole shift thing. I know for myself as a layperson, I just need to see that visual, and I'll understand that way more than I will, I understand people are sick, people have vacation time off. I understand that. But I need to see that visually so that I have an understanding of, with our 24-hour policing, generally speaking, how many officers are out there with the amount of officers that we have. And that was what the ask was, because I brought it up here to see. And it was asked for a report of actual shifts and the number of officers reporting between June 1st and August 31st. And that can be supplemental information or whatever. But anyway, I didn't see it on here when I read it, but I thought it might be a supplemental report, and so I just want to go on record that I'm a visual person. I would like to see that, and then that helps my understanding. Thank you.
That all?
Have to break that. Yes, I'll say something for a second.
Are
Yeah.
we all, the presenters, can you understand the ask?
Yeah, I think I understand the ask, yeah. Could be a little labor intensive, because like today, we could have the capacity of, there's 4 officers in this room, and there's 4 officers on the road, so we have 8 potential officers today. Tomorrow or Saturday, there might be only the 4, so I see what you're saying per day, but it'd be labor intensive. We'd have to go back or forward to try to compile that. It's not something that's normally tracked, because we try to keep a minimum on a road.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm sure there are records somewhere that tell you how many officers are out there on every shift.
Yeah.
And who they are.
You can do it for this quarter.
Yeah, we're not gonna ask you to go back, but since we didn't get it for this quarter, maybe we could have it for the next quarter.
That's all.
I'll have a discussion with them.
Yeah, okay, that'll be we'll see, the staff sergeant will answer that, another discussion. More questions?
All right, is that all, Warden? Thank you. Next up would be Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the RCMP. yeah, there has been a very much increased notice of presence throughout the communities. One of the things this summer that I have received phone calls on, and I'm sure you guys have too, is needle drops throughout the community. Bell Park used to be a very hot spot. It was at the beginning of the summer, but from what I'm hearing, since the ban of going into the woods and they kind of blocked off the entrance to the park, there seems to be less needles showing up there. Lakeland's variety store by the mailboxes, they're still finding them there regularly, and with school coming back in, that's a bus stop, so that's a concern. And I heard from the Uniac Lodge that they have started to see needles appear behind their building because it's just off the road and kind of out of sight. So they said they're gonna take some measures to try and put cameras or something up to see as well to assist, but they just wanted people to know that, you know, as the patrols are going by, you know, you can't kind of see behind the building because of the rear parking lot, and that's a site that people are partaking in illegal drug use. They were very certain it wasn't anybody taking insulin and dropping the needles in their parking lot, and their concern is that the Girl Guides will be starting up this fall, and the Girl Guides use their facility to run their meetings every week. And so with the children there, and they go out in the parking lot and they do different activities with the girls there, they want to make sure that it's safe for the Girl Guides when they go in through there. So those are three areas that have traditionally been hotspots for needle use, and of course, there has been a notice by a lot of people in the community, I think finally, that these hard drugs are a problem in our community, and it's not just a problem in the city. It's right through the suburban and rural area, and it is something that is definitely affecting people. And you know, there's been multiple other instances that I won't name here because I know there's ongoing cases in certain things that required, as you talk about, multiple resources. You know, the H division, helicopters and everything else for different things that are ongoing. So I can appreciate the efforts that are done by the RCMP in trying to keep the community safe. Look forward to the fall and seeing all the engagements continue. Thank you.
You take yourself off there. Thank you. Next up, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to RCMP. Could you give me an update, and thank you for the report, but could you give me an update on human trafficking out in this area?
I guess that's for me. Update in terms of human trafficking, right now we really have one file associated to that, which is our headquarters unit that's tracking files associated to a certain address. There's been, I think, one or two other reports as going through my memory of reading files. And if we have any indicator that we believe a young lady or a young person or a young man is being trafficked, it gets flagged to headquarters, and because they have a little more resources to do a little more digging and digging deep into stuff. But right now, really, it's one. I'm not going to, for the record here, one specific address that we're watching. Persons lately faced other charges. So yeah, they were put up on charges and conditions, so that'll help us a little bit. But as far as the follow-up, all I can say is the unit is following that. They conduct interviews, they check on it, and we react accordingly. We love to be proactive in that nature, but most times it usually comes out of a reactive call for service and where we go from there.
Okay. Speeding in the school zones, last time there was speeding on McMillan and leading up to the Elmsall Elementary School. Has that been improved, do you think, in your estimate?
I think that's going to be an ongoing issue. I do know, thanks to Constable Ouellette and Constable Wolcott, the first day of school, we had a lot of visibility on the roads, including myself, where I turned into more of a traffic control person at McMillan Drive and at White Estates and at Milford and Highway 14. And the volume of traffic in the morning for people going to the schools, I knew it was busy, but it was really busy that morning, the first day of school. And we're getting, as the population grows, and we'll talk about traffic advisories and provincial entities, we're gonna probably start pushing out from this office the need for some intersection control. Whether we have success on that or not, but our suggestion is that we're into a period of time where we need some more intersection controls, which is lights, is what I'm talking about, like the stop lights. But as far as your question directly, Councillor Mitchell, is we haven't got any more complaints. Do I believe there might be the odd occasion of speeding on these? Of course, yeah. Constable Wilcock, myself, and Constable Willett, I did walkthroughs of the schools, and I did get the same feedback from the principals. They see the parents rushing and dropping off the kids, so they're going to do an education component, and I'll be asking our officers to do the same thing to promote some more education around the safety, especially drop times off and pickup times at school.
Thank you for that. Could you give me an example of a warning compared to a summer offense ticket?
I'm sorry, for
Warnings compared to a summer offense ticket?
that area or specific in
It's
general?
just specific, so I get an idea.
I'm not familiar that there was any SOTs issued on McMillan Drive. I do know there was a couple of verbals. Our numbers that we report on warnings here are actual physical warning tickets that go through the system, but often the officers will stop and they'll get out of the car and they'll just say, look, slow down. It'd be nice to have that tracked, but I do know that's going on. I'm aware of 2 times that's taken place in the last week.
That's all, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
Take
Scott.
yourself off there. Thank you. Next up would be Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I just want to say to the RCMP, thank you for this report and all the details as usual. Really stands out to me the engagement that you're having with the community. That's really nice. You mentioned that there's some officers off sick or disability or so forth. I just think we should let them know we're thinking about them. You know, we know that policing is a stressful job and it's a physical job at times. I don't know whether they're physically injured or have stress problems, but you should let them know that we think about them. Also, I appreciate the comments regarding your ability to be able to swell up in capacity, and we've seen that happen, you know, out in Mount Uniacke and other areas and around the province. And just one last thing, my wife was mentioning to me that she was speaking with somebody in my district where RCMP had done some patrols around a person that was behaving pretty bad and causing a lot of problems for the community. And she just mentioned that just settled down after you did the patrols and paid a little attention to this person. So I just wanted to give you some positive feedback.
They may or may not have a driver's license.
They may or may not
Or
have.
suspended.
Oh, I have no idea about all that, but, you know, that just came out of the blue last week again. It was just, and it's just one
Appreciate
incident.
that.
But I don't get any complaints in my area. If there are complaints, they're not coming back to me. And if I had them, I'd have no problem telling you, but that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor. Next up to speak would be Councillor Hibb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, the staff, the presenters. Great report. Would it be possible to get a solvency rate for all the crime types from the area, from the PROS system in your reports?
Good question. PROS is not it's a great information records management system. It's not always the most, what we want to call user-friendly to get data. We have some people that, well, we'd have to follow that up. I would hope we'd have the ability to, you're talking more like clearance rates. We used to use the term like solvency means stats can clearance rates. Like say how many charges, say if you got a theft, you have a charge, was it cleared by a charge? Or was it cleared by insufficient evidence, or was it cleared,
Right.
not solved, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's possible, I think it would be great information
have
for
to
us
look
to have,
into it,
you know,
yeah.
and if we could do that, that would be great, so.
The only thing I'll caution with the Stats Canada one, so every police agency has to report to Stats Canada. The only caution that I'll give with the Stats Canada stats is they are looking for certain things, and they don't necessarily tell the whole story. about things. So a murderer gets one stat, a shoplifter gets one stat. They're weighed evenly at Stats Canada,
Okay.
right? So in order, I understand the question, and I think between Scott, myself, and one of our stats analysts, we should be able to come up with a better answer than what Stats Canada can say.
Would that be something each division would have?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I shouldn't say have it on hand, it's one of those things that we have to ask for it, and of course, we're competing with the same analysts that are dealing with crimes going forward as opposed
Yeah.
to reporting crimes backwards, right?
Probably we'd be more interested in what each division have rather than the national one, so.
If you leave that with us, we'll see if we can get you an answer.
Very good, thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Counselor, next up, Deputy Warden McPhee.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the Staff Sergeant, I guess would be the proper person. I just, some talk in the community and some people are under the impression that that we don't have 24-hour policing here. So I just wanted to get that on record. It's still 2 police officers overnight, is it?
4.
Or 4 overnight, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're in 2 different zones.
Multiple zones, they're all over
Multiple
the,
zones,
yeah, they're all over the,
So they're based out of Enfield, Mount Uniac,
they're based out of their cars.
they're in their
yeah,
cars.
yeah.
Patrol
Unless they
specific.
have to be in the office to do some sort of report or some sort of printing.
Right, but they are out in their cars at night, 4 of them, in the different zones.
Yeah,
4 different
minimum
zones.
4, sorry, minimum 4, yes.
A minimum of 4, okay. Very good, thank you, that's everything for me, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Next up, Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to touch on the school traffic issues that are going on, just because I've had several complaints and emails from residents, in particular the White Estates area, and what they are seeing on top of the congestion. And I mean, with less busing within the 1.6 kilometers, you're getting more drop-offs and whatnot, and parents are dropping them off and heading to work. White Estates is already a problematic area, as you know, but what I'm getting complaints about is concerns with where Catherine Street butts up against White Road. Cars are rolling through the stop sign. Kids are trying to cross there, coming up the sidewalk from the daycare, or just pedestrians in general, and having to wait for cars that won't stop. What residents, or the residents that I've been speaking with, are requesting that lines get painted to establish a crossing walk so the kids can get over to the sidewalk, which makes sense. And that's something that I will discuss with council next week. But just wanted to bring those concerns to you. I know that you're aware of the issue. It is a beginning of the school year issue in a way, but in a way, a lot of those drop-offs are going to continue to happen, and people are always in a big hurry. So, yeah, so just wanted to pass that on to you, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
I noticed they changed the entrance section of the school there.
Yes,
Yeah.
to try and make better flow, and, it has been a really chaotic start to a couple of schools as far as, and getting people to get on board with the new changes. But the complaints I'm getting are more out at the intersection there between Catherine and White, so just something to watch for. Thanks.
And thank you for that, Councillor, with regards to, I'll go back to the road safety initiative that falls on the police. And I talk about 3 E's of road safety, education, enforcement, and engineering. So thank you for pointing out that there needs to be some
Yes.
engineering done there so we can do our enforcement as well.
Yes.
On top of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, that's it for me.
Just take yourself off there, ma'am.
Oh, yes.
Seeing no one else will speak, I'm gonna turn the chair over to, yes, okay. I will take second fiddle. Next up would be Warden Rolson.
Thank you. Yeah, very interesting discussion around it. I think there are issues in many schools in our area which are not necessarily your issues, they're CCRCE's issues, but they could sadly become your issues. And I think of the Rawdon District Elementary where there is no safe drop-off or pickup zone, and it's just frightening. But back to the earlier discussion, just thought, sometimes for the sake of clarity, it's good to have things in motion. So I'm going to move that the next police advisory receive a report on the shift and number of our 28 officers who are actually on shift. A report of actual shifts and number of officers reporting between September 1st and November 30th. And that could be a supplemental information provided to committee in confidence if you feel that's appropriate, and it does not need to be presented publicly. I so move.
Do we have a seconder for the warden's motion? Seconded by the Deputy Warden McPhee. Comment or question with regard to the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote.
Our first vote on the new system.
Okay, what'll happen, it'll come up on screen. So 11 to 12, that makes 30. Okay, all those,
Someone hasn't voted.
no, 13 voted. We have 11 members and no, we have 30. Somebody hasn't voted, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the vote is in, and it has passed by a vote of 12-2. Those against were Councillor Musa and Councillor Perry. All right, seeing no one left to speak, I'll turn the chair over to the warden. Thank you for the report, guys. I very much appreciate it. You spoke about quickly ramping up in needed times. With this discussion around, no less than 4 on shift. If we do have 2 major events, not to say major, but 2 events that will take those 4 officers to one on one side of the community, one on one side of the county, are you guys in consultation with Colchester, with Indian Brook, and say, look, we're down to 4, there could be, we could need your assistance during the night? How is that handled? And you talked about, ramping up very quickly is in something to Mount Union. Can you explain that further to see how that?
Yeah, so, as Scott is the operations NCO for the office, he deals with the operations of that office. Outside of our office, we have a risk manager that listens to the entire province of RCMP minus Halifax district members. They listen live to them, and anytime that any of our members require assistance and somebody else might be closer, the risk manager is actually listening to that and will ask. If that gets missed, the shift supervisor will actually call the risk manager over the air and say, can you float some resources our direction? It's a very person-centric system in which we're relying on a risk manager to turn around and make those calls, but there's procedures in place for them to make sure that we don't go without. I'm not gonna say it's an imperfect system. It's as perfect as we can possibly make it for all the different contingencies that we have on the go. So no 2 calls are alike type of thing, and no 2 officers react the same to things. So it all depends on what they are asking for, but needless to say, there is a person that is in charge of making sure that we get what we need when we ask for it.
Well, that's great to hear, but like I said, do you let Colchester, Halifax, or anything know that, or do you just leave it to that risk management
So
system?
go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, there's a lot of inner cooperation. Some days it works better, some days it doesn't. Major incident, I think it works very well. The Mount Uniacke school thing we had, I was even shocked how many officers we had reporting. That was directed by the risk managers until an operation person in charge could get on the ground. Where major event happens, if we had a major highway incident or I don't want to put things out in the air because sometimes you put it out in the air and things happen. but they have that surge capacity, the risk manager will draw resources, so we have an overturned oil tanker fire or something, I don't know. Very good system, that works, where, I think where the staff sergeant was going, where it's person-centric is as we go down the chain of priority, right? So there has to be, the risk manager title is supposed to kind of risk out, okay, do we need somebody going out for the dog barking overnight when you have other things on the other side of the county? No, we're not gonna go to that, we're gonna go to the more serious matters. Road supervisors, like Corporal Simpson and the other ones that work in East Hants, they have to make the call. There's a lot put on their shoulders, so they have to reach out to the risk manager. Sometimes they'll call us at home, and we'll try to help out. We're at a little bit of a behind the eight ball doing it from home off hours, and that's why the risk manager system was brought for the hours, especially after your normal 9 to 5, say, day hours. So that's the best I can try to explain it. Major events, I think it works very well as we go down the chain of seriousness. That's when you start scrambling because whose call is more important? Is Colchester's call more important than East Hants or Spananic? Like, that's where you might get a little more person-centric cloud. Well, my file is more important than your file. I need the members. Then the risk manager will have to make a
So
decision.
it's up to the risk manager then to bring in those resources, who may call Indian Brook or may
Correct.
call Colchester, may call Halifax,
Correct.
depending on where the geography of the event is happening. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And more than just detachments that are working. A critical incident team can be called in as a result. The emergency response team, there's different groups that they have access to as well. The mechanics behind it as well, Mr. Chair, is they have the ability to switch channels when our supervisors might be driving at a speed that's not conducive to doing this on the radio. So the risk manager relays.
Very good, so there's always somebody listening, and I assume this is almost a 24-hour, it's a 7-day-a-week, 365, there's always a risk manager around on duty, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Rhino. Are there any other questions for Police Advisory? Seeing none, I will declare this portion of our meeting closed. Thank you, folks, for turning out and providing this information. We are now scheduled for a break to reconvene in corporate and residential services at 10:40.
Okay, folks, I'm going to call Corporate and Residential Services Committee to order. Just remind the counselors and staff to sign in to the new system. And I'll be looking for any changes to the minutes of July 15th, 2025. Seeing no changes, the minutes are adopted. First item on our agenda is new employee introductions, which I'll hand over to the CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This morning, I'm very pleased to announce that we have a new heavy equipment operator at our Waste Management Center. Keith Sim has joined our team. Keith's background is mostly in the farming industry, and he has recently taken the heavy equipment operator course, and I can't think of a better place for him to start his career in heavy equipment or continue it than at our Waste Management Center. So we're very pleased to have Keith join the team and welcome him for a lengthy career at East Hants. And Madam Chair, we also have a position change. We have Justine Chenical, who you've seen at the front desk as you've walked by the last few months. Justine is joining us on a full-time basis as the finance clerk for the finance department. As you know, we've had lots of change and moving around and additions to the finance department. And Justine has fit in just perfectly and is a welcome addition to our team.
Okay, so we'll roll right into the employee recognitions with the CAO. Oh, the warden.
I'm always a little mixed up about where to do these, because if I do it from here, you can hear me. If I do it from down there, maybe not so much, but I'm gonna try.
You should do it from here.
They told me to do it from down there.
Okay. Okay. Turn on presenter two.
We're gonna try this.
Turn on presenter two.
Okay.
Okay, welcome home, Brian. You'll have to turn the mic on.
I'm trying.
Okay. This is a 25-year service award for Brian Enfield. Brian originally joined the municipality on April the 17th of 2000 in the role of tax collector. His role gradually expanded to include collection services for the water utility and other areas of the municipality that are supported by the finance department. Today, Brian continued to play a pivotal role in managing the municipal collection process. Brian has been instrumental in creating a highly effective collection program for East Hants that not only supports the needs of the organization, but has a very human touch to it. He's made a significant contribution to the Nova Scotia collection community as a whole through his work with the Nova Scotia Association of Municipal Tax Collectors, where he currently serves as past president. He has provided a significant amount of support and mentorship to municipalities throughout the province and has been able to advance important changes that have enhanced the collection process in Nova Scotia. Brian was a member of the Customer Service Excellence Committee, which has helped shape improved customer service practices within East Hants. From the committee, he created the popular Care to Share sessions, which gave staff an opportunity to get together to share and foster ideas to improve customer service culture within the organization. Customer service is very important to Brian, and he has worked very hard to help set the bar very high for the municipal staff in his customer-centric approach to all he does. Over the years, Brian has helped countless residents of East Hants, some in very vulnerable positions, through his personal and hands-on approach to customer service. He has built many strong relationships with residents of East Hants, and his positive impact on the community will not soon be forgotten. Brian has been a steadfast and dedicated member of the finance team for the past 25 years. With his retirement this past June, he leaves a legacy behind, and we are grateful for the contribution Brian has made to the East Hants community.
This is a special day for me. 25 years, it feels like 50, but. I want to thank all the staff, for all of the years I spent here. It's been a pleasure working with y'all. You're all very special. And probably more than Joe himself, I miss you. I love retirement. And I've started to enjoy the last series. If some of you don't know, I went through experience of heart surgery, so it was waking and a real open eye opener for me to realize how important our health is. And I've started the last 3 or 4 weeks realizing how unfortunate I am. I feel better now than I did 3 years ago. So it was the best thing to do, and I thank all of you for that, for having such a great time all the years. I want a special thanks to that lady right up there, Kim. She's been there beside me for all the 25 years, and I'll never forget it. Thank you, everyone. It's been a wonderful trip.
And we have a second 25-year service award for our CAO, Kim Ramsey. Kim Ramsey began her career with the municipality of East Hants as manager of finance on March 23rd, 2000. So as you can see, her and Brian started pretty close together. Coming from the province of New Brunswick as a tax auditor. She then transitioned to the role of Director of Finance on August the 3rd, 2010, and in 2013, the role expanded to Director of Finance and Administration. Then, in 2018, Kim was appointed Deputy CAO, and 2019 became the CAO of the municipality of East Hants. Kim holds a Chartered Professional Accountant designation and is currently the President of the Board of Directors for the Association of Municipal Administrators. There are many contributions that Kim has made to the municipality of East Hants in the past 25 years. However, it is not an understatement to say we would not be who we are without her. During her time as CAO, she has been a trusted advisor to council, steering us through the COVID-19 pandemic and all the changes that came as a result, navigating the increasing demands in our community, and planning for the increase in additional services and infrastructure that accompany a growing population. She has also supported the community through several recent catastrophic weather events due to our changing climate, and most recently the transition of the operations of the East Hants Sportsplex. Kim continues to successfully lead a growing team of dedicated staff who follow her example in service excellence, resulting in record-level employee engagement scores. It is clear to all that Kim is passionate about her role in serving council and the community of East Hants, but it is also well known that her most important role is mom to her 3 children. When Kim isn't working as CAO, president of A-Mans, or cheering on Innes, Duncan, and Ian in their athletic endeavors, you will find her throwing mud as she hones her pottery craft. Thank you, Kim, for your 25 years of dedicated service. We can't wait to see what you accomplish next. And as a personal note from myself, since I've been warden, I truly appreciate the availability. Kim makes herself available night and day if anything comes up that has to be dealt with or that I need to call her about or seek advice about. She's always there, even if it's 11:30 at night on a weekend when there are a lot of noise complaints about an event, and she's always there to answer the questions, and I do appreciate that, and congratulations, Kim.
Yes, get Brian up here. You might make it on social media.
Yeah, I was here when they were both hired, hey? Keith and I.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Brian and I must have been babies when we started here, because there's no way it's been 25 years. Brian and I truly did grow up here. I started here when I was 26 or 25. And I've honestly been blessed every day to come to work with this fabulous group of people, and the people that I've worked with over the years. In 25 years, there's never been a day I didn't want to come to work. There's been lots of times I didn't want to do the work I had to do when I got here. But there's never been a day where I didn't want to come. And I think if you can find that in your career, you are truly blessed. The team we have here at East Hants is absolutely phenomenal. There's not one person in here that isn't top of the line in their industry and in their careers. And to support that, we have an amazing council that supports the work that we do. We have good planning, we have good things in place that make our jobs really easy to support you folks as councillors. So I won't be here for another 25 years, but I've got a few left. And I hope that we can continue that good work, because we truly are one of the recognized municipalities in this province. And it's not because of what I do, it's because of what all of the folks in each department does. So thank you very much for 25 years. Thank you, council, for everything you do and all the hard work you put in. You are also all available after hours, I might add. So together we'll keep getting it done. Thank you.
Madam Warden, being one of the two.
Just a second. You're not on, Councillor. The chair hasn't been able to get your.
Brian, I can't say enough about Brian. When you're a politician, when you're a councillor and you hear the public come up to you and say, I really appreciate what this gentleman did, that means a lot to us. And I've heard that time after time. And it means so much. It just means so much. Kim, you were manager of finance when I come on council. I've seen you progress right up through.
No, she wasn't. She got hired after we came on, Councillor.
Well, that's what I say. We've seen her. She was manager of finance and come up through. It's just amazing. You've built yourself a team of professionals that are around here today, and it's a testament to see the amount of people who've come to see these two 25-year certificates presented. I truly appreciate both what you do. I may not agree with you all the time, but I truly respect and agree and what you do. You've built a team, and there's no place like East Hants, I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you to the new employees, to Brian for his 25 years of service, and to Kim for her 25 years and still going. Thanks, folks. I'm going to. Okay. So next on our agenda is dog tag fees with municipal fee policy and Adam Clarkson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I might be done this report by the time I pull it up. It is back in front of you. If you recall, earlier this year, Council confirmed your dog tag registration program and the value and the need behind that program. You looked at it as a review and maintaining that program. But you asked staff to come back with policy amendments to look at a lifetime registration for your dog tags, and that's what you have in front of you in your package today. It's really a policy amendment. So what we're suggesting, based on our conversation with council in previous direction, is you implement your annual lifetime fee. So it basically eliminates the need for our residents to come in every year and re-register. They could do it once. And in your policy, we've got a lifetime fee of $25 and an annual lifetime fee of $25, and 4 or more dogs is $75, and that's in the attachment in your recommended policy change. So that's really what's in front of you today. Is essentially you're going to be amending your fee policy should you choose to do so. So you've got some a motion that will be coming forward at your meeting later today, and then subsequently giving your notice, and then subsequently at your council meeting. Here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. First up to speak is Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Adam. As a dog owner and a registered dog owner at that, the tags that come along with your registration fees, how are they going to be managed for lifetime when somebody pays once? Because those tags don't last. They take a beating within a year.
Yes, good question through you, Madam Chair. So we have a replacement fee for a tag, which we're leaving in the fee policy as it was, I think, $5. So if you lose yours, if it's lost, if it's just seen wear and tear over the years, we can get you a new tag for replacement cost.
Okay, no, that works for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. You probably don't have an answer, but I wanted to ask it because I'm curious. Any idea how many untagged dogs are in the municipality?
Through you, Madam Chair, I don't have that answer. I think when council looked at the national averages of dogs per tag, I think that was in your annual report, which sparked this conversation. There's quite a bit that are unregistered, but hopefully if council makes this policy change, it'll be less of an administrative burden to our residents, and it'll encourage them to have them registered, which really benefits both the municipality and them as a dog owner.
What are any consequences for not registering your dog?
Through you, Madam Chair, so your bylaw, your dog bylaw, really, if there's a need to enforce your bylaw because of whatever the circumstances may be, there's mechanisms in that bylaw that would cause for the registration if they're not registered. And there's also penalties in addition to that should that need to be the course of action. Obviously with compliance, we look at compliance first before fines.
That'd be a lot.
I sound like a bylaw officer and I'm not bylaw.
If the amount of dogs out there that I think that are out there that are unregistered, that'd be a lot of work, and I don't know how you'd catch up.
Yeah, well, we have
year after year.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, we have an online system that you can report concerns for dangerous or dogs.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Adam. Will there be an educational component to these lifetime these lifetime fees. Because what I'm thinking is we're gonna keep a database of the dogs that are registered and so on and so forth. But, you know, is it up to the homeowner then to inform the municipality when the dogs pass on? And so to keep an actual correct database out there, how will that be handled? Will that be handled through education or just how? Because if we don't have some way of saying, you know, we could grow a database that is really huge.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden. So the first part around education, absolutely, we'll have a public, and it really is an annual campaign so even if you already have your lifetime registration, we will still do our annual comms plan behind this program. Specifically around the database on the process, I'd have to check with the team. But we would encourage, I would imagine, our residents to let us know if things have changed. But the dog tags, I believe, are numbered in sequential order too, so it could get to be a large database. But we also have contact information as part of that, so that's more of a internal process. And I think you've got a good point there. We'll just, I don't have the team sitting here in front of me, but we'll look at that.
In my way of thinking, you know, the educational piece was when your dog does pass away, or you release ownership to someone else, that you know, should be the educational piece should be there. You should inform the municipality to keep an up-to-date database.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, good point, and I think that's something we'll note on the registration form as we make an update.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Councillor Deputy Warden McPhee. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I was just on the tags. Am I correct that in the presentation that if your dog is chipped, you can have that connected to tags, so you wouldn't have to worry about your
Correct.
dog losing the tags or whatever? So
Through you, Madam Chair, correct.
yeah.
So if your dog is chipped, there's it's active, there's not a requirement for the.
Yes, that'd be important for a lot of people to understand, because most people that go to take their pet to a veterinarian today, I think pretty well have them chipped, yeah. Okay, thank you, that's everything.
Thank you. Next to speak is Councillor Musa.
Thank you. Adam, if the dog die and the owner get another dog, can they use the same registration, or they have to register the other ones?
Through you, Madam Chair, it would be a separate registration.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay. Don't see anyone left to speak. Councillor Mitchell, go ahead.
Yes, it's just a thought sitting here. The off-leash dog park up by the Elmsall Legion, do you know if the dogs that go in there would be registered, or would that something that the group would have to be in compliance with, since they get funding for whatever, insurance and other stuff?
Madam Chair, I turned off my mic. Through you, Madam Chair, no, we don't specifically have requirements for that. Where the requirements fall under is your bylaw. So if they're, but not specifically with a not-for-profit operated dog park. That's not, we don't own or operate that site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the warden would like to speak.
Thank you. So I would move that the Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that council give notice of intent to approve the addition of a lifetime dog registration fee to the municipal fee policies attached to the Executive Committee agenda dated September 16th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, seeing no one to speak on this, we will go to the vote.
That's,
You're the chairperson.
Okay. Okay, so the motion has passed unanimously. And the next item on our agenda is the 2025 to 2029 strategic plan draft with the CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So councillors, this report is accompanied by a draft strategic plan. If you'll recall, back in November, we approached the newly elected council and asked how you would like to have the first draft of your strategic plan prepared. Direction was given to staff to take all of the current plans that you have, all of the motions and the discussion that you've had around this council table and at some of your workshops, and incorporate that into a strategic plan for discussion. So that's what's in front of you today. Generally speaking, the strategic plan that is being presented today is fairly similar to the path that you've been on in the last 4 years, and really continues on with the work that you're already doing. I will go through the plan and indicate where there may be new initiatives and new objectives in the plan, but all of those are coming from things that council has already indicated would be priorities for you over the next 4 years. So I'm gonna go through the report and just talk about some of the high level things that we considered and contemplated in the creation of the plan, and then I'm going to jump into the plan itself. So through a strategic planning process, we talk a lot about public engagement and how that might happen. In East Hants, we do a lot of public engagement as we prepare our strategic plans related to either your services or departments. So for example, when we do our planning documents, there's a lot of public engagement that goes into those. Any studies, there's a lot of public engagement. When we develop things like our economic and business development plan, again, we have public engagement. So instead of going out for a full public engagement on a strategic plan that is fairly set by council, we do that work as we build the plans that feed into the plan. Most of the things in this strategy remain the same because we are still on the same path. We are still working towards nothing's changed. We've been a bedroom community of Halifax for forever, and we will continue to manage the associated opportunities and threats that come with being that bedroom community as we develop our 52 individual communities in East Hants. So we still are going to talk about the infrastructure. We're still going to talk about excellence in what we do and how we deliver our services. We're still going to talk about building strong communities, and we're still going to talk about economic development as those 4 key pillars in how East Hants is going to set your priorities in the next 4 years. Part of the development of this plan and part of the conversations we've had around this table are around accountability to the plan. How do we know if we're getting it right? How do we know if we're accomplishing what we set out to accomplish at the start of every 4-year period? And there is a lot to that. This plan isn't, what you'll see in this plan is similar to ones we've done in the past. It is initiative based. So although it's not every initiative that's going to happen over the next 4 years, this plan sort of gives you an idea of what kind of initiatives are going to be on your plate for discussion and decision over the next 4 years. And as you know, every time we do a business plan, those initiatives form part of that business plan. Some of them will come off the table that are in the list as you make decisions moving forward. Some come off the table, and as you make decisions moving forward, some go on the table. But what you're always working towards is the work that you're directing your staff to do working towards one of the objectives in your strategic plan. And that's really what we should be focused on over the next 4 years, are the objectives and what work gets us there. There is a lot of opportunity when you have a strategic plan to collect all kinds of data, to get key performance indicators, and say, you know, do we have goals in our strategic plan that are sort of those SMART goals? Are they measurable, attainable, reportable? All of those things. And quite honestly, we don't have the resources internally to be able to generate new data that we can use to measure a plan. What I do want to do under the service excellence component of this is get better data so we can help to start formulating decision-making based on some of those KPIs. Primarily, we've talked about our finance data. We have financial condition indicators that we have. I would like to have more up-to-date financial condition indicators and ones that are more meaningful for you as councillors than for the provincial government who currently manage our financial condition indicators, which are 2 or 3 years behind in data. So they're really not even reportable once those 2 or 3 years have lagged. So over the next 4 years, there is some plan to look at KPIs and what we can measure to see if we're meeting some of these objectives. But I can't guarantee you that we're going to have the resources to do a lot of data mining and data for the sake of data is not an efficient use of our time. But if there's something that we can collect in our everyday, we're going to look at that over the next 4 years. I know that's important to some of the councillors around the room, like how do we know? For the last strategic plan, I also have a document that I'm working on that does take every initiative and sort of summarizes your 4 annual plans that we've done and will report on all of the initiatives that helped meet those objectives. And unfortunately, it's not ready yet. It's a very large report, as you can imagine. So I'm working on that, and hopefully I'll have that to share with council and staff at the next committee meeting. So part of your strategic plan is your mission and vision. We did update the mission and vision, not to change the overall intent, because there was quite a lot of support for the effectiveness of the mission and vision. But what we changed it for is just to make them a little less wordy. People thought maybe they could be a little more succinct. They didn't need sort of that qualitative statements before and after. So the proposed mission is through program and service excellence, we're building strong, thriving communities. So that is the mission of East Hants in overall sense. And then the vision, looking forward to what East Hants should be. East Hants is a vibrant, welcoming community that embraces rural and urban living. So those are the recommended mission and vision. In our values section, we didn't change anything. I think our values, we are true to our values and what we do and how we do business in East Hants. And although there were some suggestions on different wordings, different values that people, they all sort of fell under the same umbrellas as we have now. One thing we did talk a lot about at the director table was around relationships and how important relationships are in everything that we do. So the wording sort of as the introduction to our values, the wording in the report references now how important those relationships are to how we serve our community. And those are relationships between staff and council, between council and the community, between staff and our partners, between council and our partners. So there's relationships throughout everything we do, and they really are key to how we've been successful in the past to getting East Hants to where it needs to be. So we felt that was an important change to make. So under your key strategies, I've sort of taken you through each one of them in the report. I think what I'd like to do now is just jump into the strategy itself and take you through the key strategy piece. So the report itself for the public is very similar to what we've had before. There is a warden's message in here that talks about the importance of having that strong foundation that we have here at East Hants, being forward-thinking, being open to change, all of those things. And then we jump into our mission and vision, which I've just reviewed, our core values, which are the way that our employees build relationships and serve our community, are with these 5 core values. Those have been entrenched in our strategic plan for at least the past 8 years, as is. And they do really serve us well. And then our organizational values. So these are beliefs on how we make decisions and what information, as we're preparing reports for council and as council's deliberating on difficult decisions, is how we make decisions in those organizational values. And then our key strategies, we'll talk about those one by one. So under sustainable infrastructure, the biggest change in the goal section of this is we did add the word resilient. So if you look here, the word resilient infrastructure has been added based on everything that we are facing as a society with climate change and with all of our emergency management preparedness that we need to do. This word was really important to us that it got added. And I think it fits with the decisions that are being made around this room and the work that's being done across the province. As far as the objectives under our sustainable infrastructure, slight wording changes in some of them, but for the most part, they remain the same. And that is because you are in a stage of growth and a stage of infrastructure building that you have been in the last 10 years, and you probably will be for the next 10 years. So we will continue to build infrastructure that helps build our communities. And most of these are not slight wording changes, but the fundamental path forward is the same as we've seen in the past. There's a sample list of initiatives for the next 4 years, so these are different than what you've seen in the past. Not anything here that you haven't already talked about, but things that we think we need to consider in the next 4 years to finalize and finish, and then make part of our formal either planning section, our studies, condition assessments, things that will work towards giving us more information on the next stage of development of some of our pieces of infrastructure. Under corporate excellence, this has changed somewhat, and that's because as an organization, this is sort of how we do business. So our goal in this case, in the last strategic plan, just talked about improving the way we do business. This one sort of builds that out a little bit and talks about improving our governance, the way we do business, honoring our values, and supporting one another. That language comes from the customer service strategy that council approved last year, and it is something that we rely heavily on. As you noted earlier, the customer service work that Brian was doing with the Care to Share group, that all sort of, this customer service strategy sort of stemmed from all of that, or one stemmed from the other. So anytime that we are in meetings, in discussions, planning for future budgets, we are always looking at ways that we can improve service delivery for East Hants. So that is key to this section. That hasn't changed. Also, the work that we're doing on building the team that Councillor Rhino was talking about earlier, that work hasn't changed. So we will continue to pursue things like making sure we have good succession planning, good process documentation, recruiting and developing a great team. Those things all take time, energy, and effort. And we will continue to focus on those internally here. Some of the things we have added to this particular strategic plan come from decisions council has made. You passed, approved an equitable East Hants plan in April of this year. That plan needs to be rolled out. That will be part of the next 4 years. When we talked about that plan, we talked about the fact that there's a lot of work in there. And it's not work that is without energy and effort. So that will be part of improving our excellence, corporate excellence over the next 4 years. Similarly, with the accessibility plan, continuing to roll that out will be important. And then also, we do have work in here around those KPIs and the financial condition indicators specific to East Hants. Proactively managing organizational risk, that's a throwback from the last plan, as we continue to build out our risk management around insurance, procurement, those types of things. And the other one that has been added, which is new, is managing the evolution of solid waste delivery service. So things that get on this objective list are ones that are fairly significant, as you can imagine. As we look forward to the next 4 years, solid waste delivery is going to be a go through major changes in Nova Scotia. As a whole, we have EPR being introduced in December of this year. Really a lot of unknowns about how that's actually going to roll out. We will need to manage all of that as far as East Hants and transfer stations and transportation and all of that. But going beyond that, we need to look at sort of organics processing and how we manage our waste, what the Waste Management Center looks like over the next 4 years needs to be looked at. What services should we be providing at that Waste Management Center? Our contract will be up for renewal. All kinds of things are happening in the waste world over the next 4 years, and it's something that we really need to pay attention to. And again, that doesn't come without energy and effort. So there's lots of example initiatives that we have here. Again, these are not all must-dos, but you will see these come up in your work plans and in your business plans over the next 4 years. So you're not looking at this and deciding, yes, we're going to do, after hours service level planning, but you will. That's something that I'm going to work on internally from that service excellence piece to make sure that when you're looking for services, we have the capacity to do that for the community during hours and after hours. Again, that comes with some costs, so that would come as part of your budget deliberations. Really in here for the next 4 years, we're going to be talking a lot about how we deliver services, your service expectations for the community on some of our key services. We've talked a lot about looking at our Public Works Department and how that rolls out over the next few years as far as what services do you want us to deliver? What are the options to deliver those services? How much is it going to cost? All of those things. And that's just one item, one initiative on this list. There are also things that we are looking to do internally as far as training and improving our knowledge, being staff and council's knowledge of the relationship we have with our Indigenous community. We're looking at business continuity planning, community engagement, like all of those things will be important over the next 4 years. Under strong community, there's no change in the goal that we have. So we didn't change this goal at all. We think it still serves council well to ensure that we have a strong community. And when we say community in this plan, it's interesting for a community like East Hants that you have. East Hants is a community, but you each have communities within. And I think it's important that everybody is able to see their community in this plan and in how we go forward. One of the things that we've talked about is getting together with the counselors of each community again, and looking at what's important for those communities as they fall under these objectives. So if you can see an objective and you say, well, yeah, I can see how that would work in my community, those are the conversations that we want to start to have before that next budget cycle, so we can start to incorporate some of those things, or at least have the conversations. So although the goal hasn't changed, the objectives under this section have changed. One and two are similar. That's sort of our core, what we do, and ensuring that we have council support to continue to do that. Those two objectives are in there. Number three, enable the growth of affordable housing stock in East Hants. That is new, and that is coming from your housing strategy, which kind of a little bit backwards here, but by council we'll be all caught up. Your housing strategy, we won't be caught up actually. Your housing strategy will come in October, but that should tie into that objective. This is really the first place where we've talked about the East Hants official community plan, and effectively managing the growth and change in your community. That plan reduces land use conflict and protects both the natural resources and your community character. For those of you who are new on council, every 10 years we have to do an update to this plan. And that next update is scheduled for 2026, which is right in the middle of this strategic plan. And let me assure you that the 10-year review of a official community plan is not for the faint of heart. It is a lot of work. You will be looking at hiring additional planning staff to support you through that almost 1 or 2 year process that sort of has already started in a way with some of the reports recommending that things get dealt with in that plan. But it is an incredible amount of work. So it's really important to have in this strong community component, because the decisions you make during that process will impact your community for years to come. Also new in here, we talk about strengthening infrastructure resilience to aligning emergency management operations planning. There is a move afoot in the province to really change the way that we do emergency management at the municipal level and at the provincial level with regional operation centers and regional emergency management operations. So that's where we're at with emergency management. It is going to take a lot of time and effort over the next 4 years. Around policing and fire service, a little bit of a nuance in language, but sort of supporting that long-term planning of the East Hants Fire Service and policing services. You've done a lot on your policing services. We're now looking at how we go through the fire service. And again, there's a fire service for you being done at the provincial level. So a lot of that work is probably going to be decided for you at the provincial level, and how we interact with that process at the provincial level will be no doubt a lot of energy and effort. So we have currently 3 flood mitigation strategies on the books. We've gotten one done, one is in progress, and another one is underway. Once you get that information, we're recommending that you develop a flood mitigation strategy for the East Hants growth management areas. We really do need to get the information internally first before we start sort of developing an overall strategy. Currently, East Hants Council does not have a mandate to do flood resilience planning. So that'll have to come as a decision of council. And then finally, in this section, we are updating our climate action plan for more resilient communities. So, and we've said create a climate action plan because really we're updating it from 2013, but the current plan is so old that we're essentially starting new. We're starting from scratch to develop that climate plan. And interestingly enough, when we surveyed councillors on some of the issues, the ones around sort of East Hants being part of, energy management or electrification of fleet. Those were the two areas where councillors were not overwhelmingly in support of that type of initiative. So long before we get to that level of detail, we need to get that climate change action plan updated and know what it is that is your priority. So that will form part of the work over the next 2 or 3 years. The last one is economic prosperity. If you compare page for page, this is very different than the last economic prosperity section. And really, it's just around, you've created a new economic development strategy over the last 2 years. That economic development strategy had 2 primary objectives or goals. One was to grow investment and one was to develop workforce talent. So those are the 2 things that we focused on in your goal, because that comes straight from your economic and development plan. And then under your objectives, a lot of them at the start are similar, basically around developing that investment portfolio in East Hants, looking at future commercial industrial business park land. The transit piece, we're looking at the work that the Link Nova Scotia is doing. How does that tie into East Hants? Council will be receiving a report on transit on Thursday night at Executive Committee. And that is sort of looking for direction on the next steps for public engagement around transit. So we'll continue to explore those investments in local and regional transit. Again, your East Hants Community Plan plays a huge part in commercial development and how you set that up. And then new in this plan, promoting and growing commercial districts, building resilient communities through social and public infrastructure. So council really needs to look over the next 4 years on how you advocate to other levels of government to build infrastructure in East Hants to support the growth that you're seeing, and making sure that we have all of those services in place for our residents across East Hants. And then supporting local business in the tourism industry, growing their products, services, and experiences. And I think that's that's a really important part of our rural economic development plan, is the tourism industry. I think some of you who were out in Burncoat last week probably saw the amount of people that sort of go to that area, and there's lots of opportunity there that we can help support our tourism industry. So again, a group of initiatives listed in this report. This is certainly not an all-inclusive list for business development. The team does a lot of initiatives, a lot of support for the business community. But it's important to note that this goal of economic prosperity doesn't stop at our business development team. This is an overall goal for the municipality. You folks are right at the top of how we make a lot of this happen. The warden's heavily involved. It's it's sort of a priority for all of us, being that open for business mentality, which goes back to our service excellence. It goes back to our customer service. All of those things are key to making sure that we have an economically hospitable municipality that we can work with. So councillors, that is the report in a nutshell. There is a motion to approve the plan, but again, this is a draft. If you want changes to the plan, we can certainly talk about that. We can have another agenda item next month to work through anything we need to work through. I would open the floor to questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the report. First to speak is Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great report, and I have just a small question. So everything in here should be, as a whole municipality, is not specific to a certain area, right? So my question is around, as everyone know, about around the 100 lots that we have been on for a year. is that gonna be in our strategic plan? It's gonna hinder like development in many districts, and I think that should be in there. I don't know if you agree with me, or is it in there, or?
Through you, Madam Chair, that would be under our, under the community, the East Hants official community plan. So planning and development would deal with that issue as part of regular planning. Like, it is an important issue, but it's not at the level that it would make its own objective in the strategic plan. We deal with that. I'm not sure, John, where that sits. There was a motion to keep it status quo, so unless it comes back through a motion of council, it won't come back on the floor, will it?
Through you, Chair. That's right. So right now, staff have no further direction on that issue. I expected that it might come up through the plan review itself, but there's no current direction.
Yeah, I think letting it die is not good. Like, if you look at the top 3 assessed district in a municipality, they're gonna be killed. And I think finding a solution is something that we should have on our strategic plan for that.
So through you, Madam Chair, again, that would have to come from council. So
Okay.
we have direction from council. There was a motion made to not, to remain status quo.
Oh, I understand that, yeah, but
So if that's something that council wants to continue to discuss, that would be a motion of council through either business from councilors or a request to have a report written of some kind.
okay.
I should note, over the next 4 years, there are going to be 300 reports written that have nothing to do with any of the initiatives in this document. This is sort of a guiding document. The most important pieces are those objectives. And, you know, ensuring you have a growing community is one of those. So there will be many motions made that don't relate specifically to one of these initiatives over the next few years.
Yeah, and one more thing about roads. I know we're having a lot of new subdivision coming in, and we're gonna have a lot of municipal roads. So is there anything in our strategy about how we're gonna maintain them? Because we had a meeting with the MLAs last few months, and they don't even have money for their own roads. So I don't think they're gonna do a good job on our road, and they leave them to the end. So I think we should have something in our strategy on how we're gonna deal with that in the future when we have enough road to be able to have our own crews or our own contractors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
So, through Madam Chair, there is something in here. So under the very first initiative on your corporate excellence is to establish documented levels of service for roads, streetlights, and sidewalks. So that would be part of that.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just get you to turn your mic off, Councillor Musa, thank you. And Councillor Merriam, you are next.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair, and through to the CAO. Really good report. I think it's very logical, it reads well, and you've certainly built in some new contemporary points too, so that's great. One of the things that I picked up on, and I think it's really great to see, is the desire to work on the economic indicators and KPI metrics. And you know, one of the themes I guess from the staff report was that there's kind of a lot of you know, there's maybe getting better at it. There is a lot of information coming in, I think you said, and it's sort of a matter of harnessing that. And you know, I know it could be early days, but I think well, that's very interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, measuring results is what it's all about. You know, can you share with us at this point what, you know, so I kind of think of this strategically. I think of it as, you know, maybe having a very strategic look at how you're going to do it, what the cost could look like. Is that analysis of what it will look like, is that going to be homegrown, or would we hire a consultant firm perhaps to look at that? And I'm making this a long question, but also, you know, a lot of organizations are harnessing artificial intelligence very effectively, and there's lockdown home-based systems that don't share the information publicly. And the only comment I have to share with that is you can do a whole lot of analysis in seconds with using that. So I know that's a lot, but can you just take us a bit further in terms of what that is going to look like or could look like?
Sure. I think so we have an immense amount of data in this organization. It's sort of the mining of that data and harnessing it for making decisions is important. So when we set out to make a decision, we might have to go and find it and get the data. What I'd like to do is review what data we have, figure out how we can harness it, and whether that's through AI, whether that's through automated functions that our internal or in-house programmer can produce. And it really does depend on how far you want to go with it and how useful the information is. There's a lot of people who spend a lot of time building reports for executives that never get looked at. You know, they sort of, and I don't want that to be the case. We can't afford that level of commitment. So I think we did talk about AI. We talked about internal dashboards for some of these KPIs. And it really does depend on what we decide we want to measure and how that data gets measured. I mean, the obvious one is things like building permits and how many building permits, how long is it taking us to get through each stage of the building permits. I don't know enough about that building permit system to understand what kind of data we can extract from it, but that's the type, each decision that we feel is important, we'll have to go through that level of analysis. And I mean, we could spend a lot of money on an outside consultant doing that for us. I'm not sure that we can't do it internally. It just might take us a little longer.
I guess what I was thinking is you know, there might be a point where you're thinking about all of the options of how to do it, and I mean that might be nail it down 100%, or you might maybe come to a point where you say, you know, maybe getting sort of a second opinion on the how part could be helpful. So not so much the doing part, but the how part. And of course, there's a cost related to all of that. So I think, again, it sounds like it's early days, but you know, I for one would you know, I think council would be receptive to you know, if you had some ideas to share at some point about the how part, you know, and the costs involved. That could be a good discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, I'd read the report in detail before today and listened to the CAO's presentation. I think it's a very detailed, high-level strategic plan. It doesn't get into the nitty-gritty details of what and how, nor should it. But I think it allows council to do pretty well everything that that would be necessary to do here in the municipality. I can't see really anything to add to it, so I'm going to move the motion that Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to council to approve the 2025-2029 strategic plan, Growing Stronger Together, as attached to the September 16th, 2025 Executive Committee agenda.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. On before the motion was Councillor Dixon.
Yes, thank you, through you to the chair. You mentioned in the presentation indigenous from reserve there. What exactly are we looking at in that direction? Excuse me.
So there's a couple of things. You know, we've been, over the last, I would say, year, and more, but we've been working quite closely with different divisions in Spagnagity at the staff level.
Right.
And built a lot of really great relationships with the staff that work for the band council. I think there's a whole section of, I won't say training, but sort of education and awareness that we as staff and councillors need to understand as we look at truth and reconciliation and our role within that that process that's going on across the country and should continue on across the country. So the municipalities have a responsibility under Truth and Reconciliation to bring awareness to the issues that face Indigenous communities, bring awareness to the historical significance of, especially for us in our community, around Shubenacadie and the residential school system. And I think, you know, one of the examples of what we've spoken to is looking at places like the Shubenacadie River Park and how significant it is when you stand in that park and look over towards the residential school property, and what can we do as a municipality to make sure that the history of that is never lost and that we bring awareness to that. We can do projects like that, but really, before we do that, we really have to have a good appreciation of all of those issues ourselves at the staff level and at the council level. So under the under this plan, and it was in the last plan, that we would continue to help build that knowledge amongst staff and council, but also to build those relationships within the communities of East Hants and Spaghetti, bringing awareness to folks who live in East Hants about residential schools, about the that type of thing under the Truth and Reconciliation.
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Kim. With regard, you mentioned communities and in with that, sitting down with councillors and getting to more information in each community. I want to clarify that you mean communities and not just districts, because I think that's very important. Within the large district of District 5, we have many communities, and each community, while they have similarities, also are very unique in different ways. And I just want to clarify that, you know, we're not lumping one district as a whole and recognizing the differences and uniquenesses in each community.
So we would sit down with the counselor of the district to talk about the communities within your district. I think from a local perspective, you have that local perspective that we need to make sure that we're serving your communities well. So if there's something that comes up in Maitland and Knoll and Mount Uniacke and Milford, then, you know, that's something we can package together and bring something to council, like here's what these communities are needing or requesting or looking for. So those are the conversations that we will have from a capital perspective on infrastructure, and then from an operating perspective. One of the things in this plan is to sort of get our brand out across the municipality and give people a reason to be proud of living in East Hants. So developing that relationship with our constituents, with your constituents. So those meetings will help guide that objective as well.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councillor. And next is Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few points. Fully in support of this motion and the agenda. But one of the things that, you know, from the last strategic plan till now, I mean, some of it remained the same. We are growing, and we are going to continue to grow. We're going to grow exponentially over the next 5 years. And that has to be in our minds as councillors, that our communities are going to change. Things and demographics will change. And I think everything laid out in this plan as far as supports and things are done very well. And I look forward to addressing some of the other issues in the planning documents that we'll be reviewing in the near future. But I definitely can't stress that we are growing and we will need to grow, and how we grow and how we manage that and providing service to our residents is going to be paramount over the next number of years. Nothing is going to remain the same. Just as 5 years ago, from 5 years ago to now, you just have to look how much the communities have changed, and the strategic plan that we had back then has influenced that. This one will influence the next 5 years, and we're seeing exponential growth at a way higher rate than we ever have. So at the end of 2029, I believe you will see all the communities in our areas be drastically different than they are today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so seeing no one left to speak, we have a motion on the table, and we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously. Okay, so the next item on our agenda. Oh, okay, so we are past the time of adjournment. So what is your wish? We have the next item was the CAO priorities.
Just keep putting me.
What?
If, the end of the day, if we can.
We can move them to the end of the day. Warden, go ahead.
The CAO priorities have been set aside numerous times on our agenda due to time constraints, and we are at the point now where there are some things that really should come forward, so if we can try and be succinct in the remaining things in the day, perhaps we could add that to the end of the day.
Okay. Okay, so we are looking at,
Nominating members.
yes, adjourning first, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn, and we will be back at 1:30 with the nominating committee meeting in room 168. Now. Yes. Okay, so we are